All right, my name's Mike and this is Caleb. We're gonna do a walk around on this truck and go through some of the things that you need to go through during a pre-trip inspection for taking your test for a CDL. And as we first walk up to the truck, the first thing we're gonna do is look at the overall condition of the truck to see if there's anything that looks like it's out of place, broken or damaged, and that there's anything leaking on the ground, like fuel, oil, anything like that as we approach the truck. There's a couple of ways that you can go over on this particular sheet. It wants you to, it tells you to check for fluid leaks and to make sure the truck's not leaning from one side or the other, indicating that the suspension is broken or damaged. And then it wants you to start with the engine compartment. And if we start with the engine compartment, you just pop the hood up.
Okay. You got that side?
Yep. And you're going to go through the normal things that you would actually normally need to do. And I saw you check the oil earlier, but you're going to check the oil to make sure the oil level is proper. You're going to check the coolant level to make sure it has the proper coolant level. And while you're in here, you're gonna look at the belts and the hoses to make sure that there's no damage, they're not cracked, there's no missing clamps, there's no obstructions, nothing's bent into it.
Looks good.
Okay. It's also going to ask you to check your wipers to make sure that they're not damaged, that they're securely attached, that the rubber is good on it. And normally, once I've gone through the engine compartment and closed the hood back down, I start at the top and work my way down.
Okay.
So that you'll get all that a second time, and it doesn't matter how long you go through this inspection. It doesn't matter how many times you say it, and the more you say it, the better chances that you say all the right things. So we've checked the engine compartment, we've checked all the coolant levels. While you're inside here, you might as well check the shock absorbers, make sure that they're not leaking. You want to check the suspension to make sure it's attached properly, there's no missing bolts, the U-bolts are in place. You want to check the pitman arm, you want to check the cross steering tube, you want to check all of the steering components. You want to physically put your hands on them. If you don't know what the names, excuse me, if you don't know what the names of the things are, you put your hands on it and say, I'm checking this to make sure it's not damaged, missing, loose,
broken,
anything that it would be out of place.
Okay.
You're gonna have to do that on both sides.
Ooh.
You're checking brake hoses. You're checking to make sure the suspension is in place down here. There's no missing bolts in any of these areas. You want to check the frame for cracks. Make sure that there's no obvious damage on the frame. Again, you've got some hoses and clamps. You want to make sure that those are all in place. You want to check your coolant level here to make sure it says it's low. That would be on the cool side. And obviously you want those all to the right directions. While you're looking at your tires, because we have the hood up and it's easy to see, make sure the tread depth is proper and the tires don't need to be replaced. Make sure there's no chunks missing out of the tires. Let's give the noise a second to go by. You want to make sure there's no cuts in the sidewall of the tire more than an inch long. You want to make sure all the lug nuts are in place. These are caps on top of the nuts. The way you can tell that the lug nuts are secure, there's no lines leading up the wheel showing rust. Anytime you have a loose lug nut, rusty water will leak out of it and run up the wheel. You want to check the wheel seal to make sure there's no leaking oil on the seal. If you pull the cap off, to make sure the oil is at the correct level. You can do that on this truck because there's no cap on in the way to stop you. And you want to check on the inside to make sure that the inner wheel seal is not leaking as well, which will get away from you if you're not paying attention.
Okay.
We've checked all the U-bolts on the suspension and so forth, so we can go ahead and shut the hood down. And this is where you're going to start to repeat yourself. If you start at the top of the truck, the first thing you're going to see is the lights going across the front and the horn. You want to check that to make sure it's on there and it's not loose or damaged, and then check that the lights are all there. None of the reflectors are missing or damaged. And when we turn the lights on, you'll check the lights to make sure that they all work.
Okay.
Headlights as well, make sure that they're securely fastened. There's no cracks, it's not damaged, everything's in place. Grill, front end's all connected properly. Check the bumper and make sure the bumper bolts are in place, the bumper's attached securely, nothing's missing, no obvious damage. Walk around to the side, make sure the mirrors are in place, nothing's missing on the brackets that hold the mirror in place. And you want to check the windshield. You have to check the seal to make sure it goes all the way around the windshield. You want to check the windshield to make sure it doesn't have any cracks or breaks directly in the line of sight. It's not damaged. And you've already said the windshield wipers, but we're going to check them again while we're looking at it to make sure that that the rubber is good on those, the arms are attached properly, and it's not, there's nothing missing. There's mirrors on both sides. You want to check. And then we're gonna go around to this side. And there's a couple of things that you can, a couple of ways to go about it. You can either check the entire outside of the truck and then work your way to the inside, or you can stop and go inside the truck and then get out and start again. I like to do the whole outside of the truck first, and then go inside and get that out of the way.
Okay.
So while we're on the side, you want to make sure your door handles are in place. You want to check your windows, make sure that they're not cracked or damaged, and then all the seals are working, and the windows are vent windows have latches, and everything works on those. You want to check air tanks and air lines, make sure that nothing looks like it's damaged, missing or broken, and all of the attachments that are on the truck are in place, and all the bolts are in place to hold it there. Your battery box is here. You got the battery cover, which has one of these latches. It's not latched in place. We're going to ignore that and pretend like it's good. Yeah, pretend like it's good. This is just a toolbox, yeah?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it's attached properly and that there's no missing bolts. You're checking frame rails while you're going past here, checking all your air lines to make sure they're securely attached. Normally, you want to check the rubbers inside here and make sure that they're good. They're not cracked or damaged or need to be replaced. You want to do that on both of the, you put that back on because I'm going to get greasy. You want to make sure that that's good on both sides. Your pigtails plugged in and locked into place. You're going to check the suspension underneath. Make sure it's attached properly. There's no missing bolts. All the suspension looks like it's locked in as it should be. U-bolts, U-clamps, brake canisters. Again, you're going to check the tread depth on the tires to make sure that they're all within specs. Everything looks good on that. If I had a tire thumper, you'd thump both tires to make sure it's, this one's got air in it because it's not laying on the ground.
But that one,
you want to thump that one to make sure that it's got air in it as well. the handle for the
Jack.
landing gear is in place. No missing bolts, no damage. You have
Mud flaps.
mud flaps. I just went brain dead for a second. Mud flaps are in place. The hangers are where they should be. There's no missing bolts. It's not damaged. We're going to also make sure that all of the lights on the trailer, these corner marker lights, and all the lights all the way back. This is a flatbed trailer, so you're not going to have anything above, but
True.
you still have to have the same lights below, and you have to make sure that there's none of them are cracked, none of them are missing, and none of them are damaged.
Okay.
And we're also going to check those to make sure they work once we get inside the cab. Same thing with these tires. You're going to go through the same thing. You're going to check the lug nuts and make sure they're tight. There's none missing. There's no damage. They're not loose, and you can tell that because there's no rust lines streaming up the tires. You want to check on both sides. You want to check the suspension underneath to make sure that there's nothing missing there, nothing's broken, nothing's twisted, nothing's damaged. This is a light, and you have an extra light here, which is a turn signal or a reflector. I'm not sure which.
Boy.
You have to make sure that your lights are visible. There you go. Your license plate properly mounted, no missing bolts. You have to put a light in there to make that one pass, but you have these two here. You're missing one here.
Okay.
These lights seem to be in good shape. The ramps are locked in place. These are spring ramps, so they're held up. Make sure the mud flaps are in good shape here on the
Trailer.
Same thing on this side as you did on the other side. You're checking spring hangers. You're checking the torsion bars. You're checking. You're going to have to get your air gauge out and check the tires and make sure that that has the proper amount of air in them. That none of the bolts are missing or damaged, and that they're not loose or leaking. All the lights up this side of the trailer. You want to check your fifth wheel to make sure it's latched and that the handle is all the way in. We walked around that on the other side, and I didn't say anything about it because it's been a while since I've done it. The mud flaps are in place. You're going to check your exhaust to make sure the exhaust is attached and it's not damaged and it is secure. While you got your hands on the fuel tank, you're going to check the fuel tank hangers. Make sure the hangers are all in place. There's none of them damaged. None of those are twisted or broken. You might as well check your fuel to see if you have enough fuel in your truck before you get ready to go out on the road. You want to check your steps to make sure that they're securely mounted. There's nothing missing, no damage.
Okay.
Window on this side is in good shape. All the seals look good. Door handle, door latches. Door shuts okay. All the latches are in place for your hood. You've already checked the underneath of this side, you've checked the engine compartment, and you've checked the hood on the inside. We can go inside the truck if you want,
Okay.
and try all of the things that we need to do inside there. You have both headlights. All your lights across the top, save one. You've got
One's
one
back.
marker light out.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to replace that one. Now we're gonna try the left-hand turn. That's good. Right-hand turn. That's good. I'm gonna go in the back. We're gonna do the same thing.
Okay.
Brakes. Good. Now, when you go to take a test, they will get out and check your brakes and your turn signals to make sure they work.
Okay.
Because they make sure that happens before you go on the road. Otherwise, you'll have the lights on and you'll have to walk around and point out that the lights are working all the way around as well. So you want to start the engine. We're going to let the air build up to 120 psi.
Okay.
Is that 120?
Yep.
Okay, shut the engine off. All right, turn your key back on. And now I want you to step on the brakes until the warning buzzer comes on,
Okay.
which should come on right at about 60 psi.
Right there.
Okay, now I want you to start the engine back up again. And we're going to use our watch and see how long it takes it to get back up to 120.
Okay. About right now.
Okay, that's good, less than 60 seconds. All right, the next thing we're going to do is turn the engine off again. I want you to apply 90 psi to the brake pedal, which you'll be able to see what the pressure is when you step on it. Go ahead.
It's all the way to the floor.
All right. And you shouldn't lose more than 4 psi in 60 seconds. Sounds like we have a little air leak on here. Okay, next thing you're gonna do is, are we on a flat and level surface?
Yeah.
Okay, they will have you chalk the wheels at the test so that the truck can't move one direction or the other. If you want to start the engine back up, put your foot on the brake and release the tractor and trailer brakes. Now we should be able to sit here without moving if you take your foot off the brake. We're good to go? All right. Now I want you to apply the trailer brakes or the foot brake until you get down somewhere between 20 and 40 psi. That should pop both these valves out.
Okay.
There you go. takes care of that. Let's let it build back up again. We're going to forego the, normally you would put both brakes in, pull forward at 5 miles an hour, step on the brakes to make sure that they stop. We're not going to do that while we have a videographer standing on the outside of the fuel tank.
Probably smart.
What we are going to do is have him hold on and have you push the trailer brake in, or the parking brake in for the tractor only.
Okay.
Put it in gear and pull against the trailer brake to make sure
The trailer brakes are still on.
that they're still locked.
Okay.
We shouldn't go anywhere, but you still need to hold on.
Good. All right, we're gonna do that now.
Yep, that's okay. In.
So that one didn't release.
All right. That's good. It didn't move. We're not going to push against it.
Okay.
Now reverse it. Now let's see if the tractor brakes hold. That's good there too. Now you can set both the brakes. We should be able to lower the brake pressure down to 85 just by pressing the brake several times.
That right there.
Okay. And now if you raise the RPMs up to 1,000, it should only take 45 seconds to go to 85 to 100, and it won't take that long on this one.
It's at 100.
Yeah, so we're good to go there as well. This is when you remove the chocks and then do your
drive test.
Do your pull test to make sure it goes forward and stops.
Do we have to make sure the air horn works?
Pull the horn. You should have an electric horn and an air horn. That takes
That's
care of
electric.
that. You only need to have one or the other.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to have, the air horn's not required. It's something that everybody has because it's cool. But as long as you have a horn, you're in good shape.
Okay.
Now, we've already gone through the pigtail to the trailer and all the fuel lines, and and the spring hangers and all that. What we would do next is get under the trailer and check the slack adjusters for the brakes. Make sure you didn't have extra play in there. And you're also going to check the brakes to make sure that they've been adjusted properly. And if you know how to adjust the brakes, or if the truck driver knows how to adjust the brakes, I don't know if these are drum brakes or disc brakes. Disc brakes are self-adjusting.
Yeah.
Drum brakes need to be adjusted with a
wrench.
With a wrench. It's a 9/16 wrench. Also, we didn't check for the safety reflectors. You have the DOT reflectors in here?
Oh, like triangles and whatnot?
Yes.
Yeah, they're right here in this box.
Okay, and do you also have a fire extinguisher?
Should, yes. Somewhere. No, there's one right here.
Okay, and
Now, do they have to be secured in the cab?
they should be secured in the cab, and they should also be in the green. Okay, that one's good. And they will be secured in the truck that you go take the test in, because I understand you're going to go to a trucking company and do that. Steering play. You should only have 2 inches of play in a 20-inch steering wheel. That's about right.
Okay.
How many, do you happen to know what the tread depth should be?
I think on the rears are 2 30-seconds, and the fronts I think are 4 30-seconds.
That's correct. Okay.
Now, will they make you, I don't know, like whenever you go to take the test, will they jack the truck up and check for play in the tires at all? Like
No.
wheel bearing? No, none of that? Okay.
No, they will assume that the truck that you're taking is inspected and working properly. You're going to check the steering wheel, make sure that's okay. You are going to, as part of your pre-trip, when you're reaching down there and grabbing the pitman arm and the cross steering tube and all that, you can also pull on the tire to make sure you don't hear anything clunking or making noise. But the one you'll be taking a test in will be
good to go.
Good to go, yeah. And this is your company's
pre-trip inspection. So before every day, whenever a truck driver gets here, they should go through all this and make sure.
They should go through everything on that list and sign off on it, saying that it's all been checked, or that they have noted what's wrong with it, and it's not dangerous to drive the truck with that particular thing wrong.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. You're missing that third marker light in the back of the trailer. You should be able to drive down the road in the daytime with that with no problem. But they want to write that in there.
Note that in there.
And if they don't write it in there, you have no way of knowing that this trailer needs to be repaired.
And this is a carbon copy, so they can they rip one of these out and give it to the mechanic?
They should give you a copy, and one should stay in the truck, so that if they get proofed on the side of the road, they can show them what they did. And you should also do a post-trip as well as a pre-trip.
Okay.
So before you go out, you want to go through everything on the list. You make sure you got fuel. And that way, if they run out of fuel on the road, they go, well, we just didn't check it.
Yeah.
And
very true.
And then they'll give you the copy of the original, not the original, but the copy.
Yeah, the carbon copy.
And then you'll have a log of what needs to be done to each truck. And when they come back in, they should take the time to check the truck over again, because they may have knocked a lug nut off, or they may have
busted a light out,
caught a mirror or something, and it'd be helpful that before the next guy comes on the next morning, they know what they're dealing with.
True.
And they can look at that log and go, well, this thing already has this, and this wrong. Let's see if it's been fixed.
Yeah.
And if it hasn't been, they can scratch on there that the same thing that was wrong with it yesterday is still wrong with it today.
Gotcha.
That light was fine.
Yep.
As far as
yeah, I get you. As far as he knows.
As far as they're concerned.